I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, August the 14th. And I tell you what, I was looking around for the right word to use to start this visit off. Been watching everything that's been going on. Saw the Friday night weekend fire at the Tyson Fresh Meats plant there in Finney County. And we knew that it was going to be bad. We knew we better brace for that. Then saw the activities on Monday where you had all your cattle futures down the limit. We saw the few cattle that we saw sell in some auctions on Monday were a foot lower. We saw the fat cattle bids on Tuesday morning open up about 170 dress. Not that you could get that now, but that was early in the day on Tuesday before the board tanked again on Tuesday. And then saw how your box beef cutout values rose, all to find that we basically slaughtered the same number of cattle that we did that we normally do early in the week. And so looking for the right word. My vocabulary is not as big as I would like for it to be. Sure, I got a master's degree, but it's in agriculture. It's not in English. But I was looking on the computer and searching for what do you call someone that benefits from others' misfortunes, and found out that there's really not an English word for someone that benefits from others' misfortunes. The closest thing that they found was a German word called, and it's pronounced Schadenfreude. And that is what you call someone that benefits from others' misfortunes. Now, so I thought I'd dig a little bit deeper and see if I could find someone who profits from others' misfortunes. Well, that's a profiteer. So these packer profiteers are definitely showing what they're made out of. I looked at some synonyms that had the same to do with profiteers. Then I really started finding out that I was along the right lines. I saw the different terms. One was coffin seller, pretty good one. Leech was another one. Scavenger, blood snakes, vultures. All those words, and I thought, well, I've got on the right path there as far as these packer profiteers. I tell you what, it's really something the way that they've come in here. And we know how shrewd they are, and how they deal and collusion, the different unfair business practices that they use to try to buy these fat cattle as absolute cheap as they can. The government let this get way out of hand after we lost the trade from the river markets when they sold the cattle on the bricks, and it was all competitive. And when they moved further out west into the more dry, arid areas to build the big commercial feedlots, and then the packing houses, of course, followed them to get out there close to them, and they started feeding their own cattle. They started buying these cattle on different formula and contract deals, and now they don't really own the packing plant or the feedlots. They've sold those out, but they have them in the fine print whenever they sold those that they get all the cattle out there. Their captive supplies are giant. They only need about 15% of their kill each week, and they finagle on those and manipulate it to get everything going their way. We know how they do that. Talk about it every day right here on the Feeder Flash. But it's just as bad on the other end. Whenever they get ready to sell that meat, when they're selling to their wholesalers, selling eventually to the end users, they're just as hard. You look at the box beef cutout values on Tuesday. These meat sellers and these packing houses have come in there and sing the blues and then use their packer psychology the exact opposite way that they use with the cattle people. Said, oh my gosh, we've had a bad fire over there at Tyson Fresh Meats there in Finney County, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to fill these orders anymore. You better get your orders in if you want any of this product, because we're just going to be really short of it. Box beef cutout values, your choice cuts on Tuesday afternoon, $226.36, up $7.74, and they were up nearly half that on Monday. Select not as much, but the choice products where everybody wants to go, we're getting to the time where it's going to start to cool off a little bit. They can get back out to the grills. Going to be doing a lot of tailgating. It's almost football season. Hallelujah. But choice cuts, $200.58. That's the first time they've been over $2 pretty much all summer long. Choice select spread, $25.78 on a pretty darn good movement on a single one day. 173 loads they moved at that kind of money. So they sang the blues there. So you're thinking, well, you know, we were not going to have near as much slaughter capacity. Then you look at your estimated daily livestock slaughter under federal inspection. Tuesday's estimated slaughter, 116,000, a whopping 2,000 less than the same day a week ago, and a whopping 3,000 less than the same day a year ago. Well, I thought they killed 6,000 there at Finney County. They've basically got half of that picked up, and now they've jacked their prices up on their end. And then they come out with shoot you in the foot bids to start the week here. And the worst part of it is everybody's just still up in the air. The board goes away as fast as you can, as soon as they open up trading, it just starts slipping eventually to limit losses. And then it's locked up and guys can't get out, can't get in or out. And all we really need is for Tyson to come out and tell us when this is going to be over. They've had plenty of time. They've had all weekend. They've had the first of the week to go in there, assess the damages, bring the people in that they need. And I do believe that they're going to get that fixed as fast as they possibly can. They're still paying their employees. Their employees are under union contracts there. They're going to get this thing going. But let's have a little fun while we're waiting on it. Why not come out and say, we're going to be closed up here for 2 months or 3 months or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Apparently they've told their employees to expect to be down 6 to 8 weeks, because some of them had done interviews on local media around there, and that's what they had said, expect 6 to 8 weeks. But you don't see any press release, you don't see anything official coming out from Tyson saying that that's what's going to do. If we could get something like that, everything would ease up a little bit. Why ease it up when you're gouging everybody? But the Packers want this to be a deal where, you have your producers here and they're all going after the same goal of keeping beef consumption high and giving the best possible product to our consumers out there. Yet they will use every trick in the book and take advantage of every opportunity to try to take you out. They want no liability on the safety of the product, asking these producers to go in there and watch some BQA videos that insults their intelligence, fill out every kind of a form you can fill out to guarantee everything from the age of the cattle to the health of the cattle to the withdrawal of the cattle to the different practices that you use on the farm or in the feedlot. And just absolutely using every trick in the book. I hope seriously that our calf, I don't talk about our calf on here a lot. A lot of you people might roll your eyes at the sound of our calf. The rest of you guys love them. But our calf, and you might think they're kind of right-wing cattlemen's group there. I might not always disagree with you on that, but they are taking these packers to task here. They've got the top antitrust law firms that they can get. They've got evidently all the evidence they need to come in here and find these packers guilty of unfair trade practices, guilty of collusion and all the games that they play, the monopolistic practices that they use, and they've got them, and they're putting together a big case. And I hope those lawyers look up from the case that they already have and are taking notes as to what's going on right here, right now. Everybody's talking on social media and in sale barns and anywhere you can find cattle people about what can we do to fix this. It's already been done. When you've got your packers, you've got 4 packers and they don't need hardly any cattle at all to operate. Yes, we do have a few regional packers there that kind of help out and fill in and probably the only reason we ever get any market at all, any market position. But it's totally monopolistic and it affects too many people's lives. You've got a whole industry out here, a whole rural community all over this United States that depend on these packers to buy their cattle, and I'm talking your cow-calf guys too. If you don't eventually have some kind of a market at the end, how is your cow-calf guy going to continue to pay the taxes and keep his ranch up, going to continue to feed his family and buy the things that he needs to have those calves that those backgrounders, those grazers buy and take on to the next level? And then finally your feedlots used and they're just fighting them tooth and nail. Basically no negotiated trade at all. And you guys say, well, I don't know, you always talk about negotiated trade. If you guys ever watch those American Pickers on the History Channel, I like to watch them, and if there's a marathon on, not a lot's going to get done that day. But when they find something that they want and they make an offer for it and then they haggle back and forth, and then they finally come to a price that they're both happy with and they shake hands. That's a negotiated cash trade. We don't have near enough of that in your fat cattle arena. Everything trades off the little dab of negotiated trade that you had the week before. And I guarantee you, whenever they get a chance, they absolutely take everybody's pants down and just really enjoying this. And it's unbelievable whenever they show their true stripes here. It reminds you of whenever we have one of those attacks over there in the Middle East, and then your local gas station raises his gas up $1 a gallon. You don't see that too much out in the country places, but it happens in the cities and places. We're just used to that. That's common practice in your fat cattle arena. But I started the day out on Tuesday on what they call a horn wrap call, a conference call with U.S. Cattlemen's Association. I asked my friend Lee Richmuth to get on there because he has an idea to kind of come in and make some changes to your live cattle contract and the CME that everybody seems to agree that will promote a lot more longs to come into the market, which is what you desperately need to do that, because everybody's on the downside. We've got the only industry in the world that bets against itself every game, and that's where we're at on that. We need more positions on the long side. Lee's a smart guy, and he's had a lot of experience doing that. He kind of come up with an idea that he thinks would work to change that around, where the contract, whenever it's getting to maturity, it trades maybe every week of that month, and then bring up those missing months too whenever we get to fruition of the contract, and actually make that thing settle every week as it's closing out. And some of the outfits and the guys that are involved and listen to it, they don't want to give up that $6 to $8 basis. We got no market position. Everybody's crazy about the $6 to $8 basis. The problem with that is nobody on the long side wants to take live delivery anymore. We always thought that that actual live delivery, whether it be on a live basis or a carcass basis, was the thing that was holding that live cattle contract together. In fact, it might be the thing it's causing everybody to go broke, because you've got the long positions that are in there. They might be happy in that contract right there, but as it starts to mature, they start diving out because they're afraid of delivery, And then as that happens, it crashes your cash market on the spot market, and it's like a mirage. You're getting out there and you think, you know, these cattle might actually break even or make $20 or something a head, and when you get there, right as you get to grab it, it's gone again, because it can't hold any kind of market position because we got no leverage. And then when the board fails you as it gets to settlement, that's where you're at. But Lee Richmond has got some good ideas. He gave his proposal on that conference call. We had a lot of people on that U.S. Cattlemen's Association conference call, and a lot of them called out and announced that they were there. And then we had several eavesdroppers too. Not sure which side they were on, but I tell you what, something's got to be done. Something's got to be done with the monopolistic ways that we have the packing industry. Something's got to be done with that live cattle contract, because it's just not working. Everybody's losing equity. We've got more people probably in trouble in this cattle feeding business than we've had any time, and we've just now had the wreck. But I tell you what, guys are continuing to lose equity that they've spent decades trying to build up, and it's bleeding down. You've got a lot of your cow-calf guys that are wanting to get out. Nobody's wanting to get back in it. The young people don't want to do it. Why would they want to do it? It's a lot of work, and we've got to do something to try to hold this deal together. Everybody loves this industry. You know, there's still a bit of romance left in the cattle production. I enjoy giving these markets every day. There's a lot of people that enjoy watching them and keeping up with what's going on in the market. But if we don't start doing something and cling together to try to keep this deal on the level, it's just going to be just like the hogs and the chickens. You know, you have a few guys that resist contracting at weaning. That's what they want to do. They'd like to contract at weaning, and then you never have any skin in the game after that. You're basically just working for your processor. He'll send you feed. He'll send you cattle if he hadn't already contracted your cattle. If you got facilities there, you work for him, and nobody wants to do business that way. I'll get off my soapbox. I get on it, seems like much too often anymore, but it seems like the number of people I get watching these videos and commenting on them grows. But if you see fit, share this. I'm going to give you some markets now and tell you how bad things really are. The board on Tuesday, August live cattle futures locked down the limit, expanded limit to $4.50. It was $3 the first time. So we've lost $7.50 here through the first 2 days of the week, down to $100.55 on your spot August live cattle contract. October, look at it. It was also down the limit, $4.50. It's under $1 now at 99.25. August feeder cattle, look at the expanded limits on your feeder cattle and how far they went. Down $6.67 in 1 day's move on your August feeder cattle contract at 127.72. September down $6.75 at 127.20. You remember we were all talking about that crop report that came out on Monday, but after all that's happened here over the weekend, the first of the week, nobody's thought too much about that. It was bearish corn, which and normal, which I don't know what normal is anymore. It's like having a normal year as far as moisture. But under a normal situation, your cattle would have got a big shot in the arm. But we can't even keep it from making limit down moves now. But December corn futures on Chicago Board of Trade down 16.25. They were down hard Monday at 376.5. Wasn't long ago we thought they were going to jump over $5 and make it to harvest there. But there's your row crop farmers, and I know a lot of you guys are diversified and can't imagine it getting any worse than this. November beans are actually up. U.S. did announce that they're going to delay the tariffs on the China deal, China trade tariffs, so maybe the tension has backed off a little bit in the trade wars with China, but the beans are up 9 3/4 cents at $8.89 to end the day on Tuesday. No fat cattle trade to speak of at all. A little bit in the auctions. We'll talk about that in a minute. Did have bids surface Tuesday morning at 170 dressed. That would be about $1.07 live. It's a lot lower, and I guarantee you those bids are not out there anymore because that was before the board tanked on everything. But still about a $6.50 basis there to what you ended up with your August live cattle futures, which everybody's worried about the basis. There's your basis there. Just give up all your market position. But who's to say where this fat cattle deal is going to trade this week? We may have a hard time keeping it over $1 if the board continues to tank like that. If Tyson won't come out and tell us kind of where they're at, what they're looking at. I do believe once that word comes out, once that statement comes out, things will shore up and they'll get better and they'll go back, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity to make some money going back up to where we've been. Because you know, we're undervalued big time right now. But talk about an auction that probably your best fat cattle auction in the United States is Stockman's Livestock in Yankton, South Dakota. They have a good sale there, usually selling at a premium every week. You look Cattle Market Central. I pulled up several of the bigger lots of fat cattle steers that sold at Stockman's in Yankton on Tuesday there. Most of them running from 102 to 107.75. Now they did have some smaller lots and some drug-free cattle that sold as high as $1.10. $1.10, that's where the Southern Plains traded, guys, last week after giving up all their market position to basis jumpers. It was more like 13 or 14 on just regular cattle in the Northern Plains last week. Now we're selling them from 102 to 107.75 in a big time fed cattle auction there, with only your drug-free cattle and your smaller best lots up to 110. Unbelievable. Let's talk about your feeder cattle markets, which they've taken the brunt of it too. Even calves. You know, I don't know how long you could rebuild everything in that plant, and the calves should still be all right. You know, they're not going to need to worry about that for over a year, well over a year. But you're just taking everything down. But look at some of your sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyards, West Plains, Missouri, 1,700 head there. Your market was mostly $10 to $15 lower. That was similar to what your sales were, your Big Monday sales earlier in the week. I tell you what, I want to give some kudos to some of these markets that are holding things together. Western Video Market had a big sale Monday and Tuesday. Timing couldn't have been worse. They did move a lot of the calves onto the next sale in September, which you can't blame them. Glad of that. But most of the yearlings went ahead and sold. They needed to get those cattle moved. Sold on Monday. They held those together pretty darn well. You want to thank those buyers and a lot of those field representatives for holding that thing together. But they had that sale in Little America and Cheyenne, Wyoming. But here's some other sales that kind of held things together best they could. Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington had a big customer appreciation barbecue sale at their Taj Mahal headquarters right there in Lexington, that fantastic facility, second to none anywhere that they have there. They had a good sale, 1,900 head there, and guys knew what was coming. They still brought them, and I'm going to give kudos to the order buyers that work in and around the bluegrass markets every day, some of which are part ownership, and that's the only part of the country or the world, as far as I'm concerned, where your order buyers could have ownership in your market without trying to cut each other's throat in the country and everything. But they know how the deal works. They're not going to shit their own nest. They're going to make it work for everybody. They're going to work their customers. The other order buying outfits are working their customers, and they're going to try to get as many cattle in there. They're going to get to sharing the commission. Everything works. But they had a big customer appreciation sale there in Lexington, Kentucky. Yearling loads were about $5 lower. That's not too bad, guys. It could have been that, just depending on the way it was, but especially the way things are. But you look at this market report on the steers on Cattle Market Central. Bluegrass Stockyards, longtime customer of DV Auction and a participant in our Cattle Market Central and our National Beef Wire, getting these markets out, and just I'm glad that they kind of held things together. Look at the popular weights of steers. 407 head of the 7-weight steers, average 774 at 139.67. That's on all of them, guys, not just the loads. 255 head of 8-weight steers, averaged 857 at 134.11 on the average. 273 head of 9-weight steers in Lexington, Kentucky at Bluegrass Stockyards, averaged 927 at 129.40. I called my friend Jay Romine, the auctioneer, main auctioneer there at Bluegrass, and I said, I want to give some credit to these order buyers that held things together, because some of these cattle are probably still in loose hands the way things are. It'd be hard to get anybody to take them. But S&B Cattle Company and Eugene Barber and Sons, order buyers there, and of course we've talked about Gene. He had a horrible car accident several weeks ago. He's still having trouble getting around, because I tell you what, it bunged his feet and legs up pretty bad. But he's got his kind demeanor back, so we're glad to hear that. But both of those order buying outfits, S&B and Eugene Barber and Sons, are in ownership there at Bluegrass. And then several other order buying outfits: Conley Livestock, American Cattle Company, Brian Bogey Livestock, Riley Livestock, and Jay Romine didn't want me to forget him. So yeah, he's a world-class auctioneer, selling there in the Bluegrass every week at Bluegrass Stockyards. But you know, those guys deserve some credit for what they do. Look at this one string of cattle that sold, and you think they sell them one at a time in Kentucky? Here's 127 head of yearling steers, weighed 787 in Lexington on Tuesday, bring 144.80. That's a pretty good price right there. I mean, fire at Finney County or not, that's a pretty darn good price. And you got to respect the guys that bought those cattle and the guys that brought them in. Philip the Giant, Philip, South Dakota, had a light early sale on Tuesday, and they had planned it and then had some cattle come in there. They had 2 loads of big steers, weighed 1040, that bring 130.50. Wow. And that's pretty optimistic buying them the way that things are this week in your Fat Cattle Arena. But the highest individual quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday come out of Creighton, Nebraska, Creighton Livestock Market, 118 head of big steers, weighed 955 at 142.85. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.